All right, today we're checking in on my neighbor's garden. This is a 4x4 by 2-foot bed. These are our gardenary cedar beds. We've got lots of green in here, a lot of growth, so we're going to do a little bit of pruning, some supporting, and make sure that everything's got enough room to grow. The biggest thing you have to worry about when you do intensive planting is just pruning, making sure that all your plants have enough airflow, enough sunshine, and they're not running into each other. And you do that just simply by every single week stepping into the garden and pruning it. So I'm going to do that with these tomatoes. First I'm going to tie them up onto the trellis. They're pretty well contained. We planted 4 tomatoes on the outside of this trellis, and they're all looking really nice and healthy. So I'm going to tie them up and then I'm going to prune from the bottom. So taking a little bit of our paper twine, and this one looks like it's probably the slowest of all. I see a few little peppers there, a few little small tomatoes starting to form. This garden has a lot of shade. It's under these trees, but it was really the simplest and the easiest place to start their garden. So we know we're going to get a ton of leaves in this garden in terms of like leafy production, but we're hoping we can get some fruit too just by pruning a lot and getting these fruiting plants a little bit higher in the garden. All right, so now that I've tied these on, now I'm going to do a little bit of pruning on these lower leaves. So down here, I'm just going to cut at the base of the plant, the lowest leaves, lowest stems first. One thing that can happen with tomatoes is you get tons and tons of leaves and very little fruit. And so pruning is really a way just to tell the plant where to put its efforts and to give lots more attention to fruiting than to all these leaves. So I'm just going all the way down. This also keeps water from splashing on the leaves, keeps soil from getting onto the plant, and just generally keeps the plants healthier. So I know I'm done pruning when I look down the plant, the stems, and I really don't see hardly any leaves down at the base of these plants. And I'm just about there. Yeah, so those look really nice. Got a little bit more. And this is going to tell the plant, you know, to put all of its effort up here and getting a lot more flowers and fruit on these vines. So that's the pruning of the tomatoes. Now you can tell the Swiss chard's getting a little bit of pest pressure, so we're going to do some pruning for it too. I'm just going to cut off any of these leaves that aren't looking great. And hopefully when I do that, I'm taking the pests with me. And if you just keep an eye out for pests on these leaves, for holes on these leaves, get rid of anything that looks like it's got disease or pests on it. You can keep a really much healthier garden. All right, so we got that. Now we'll go around here and get these front ones that are leaning over. We've got some herbs and strawberries underneath this Swiss chard that I want to be sure is getting plenty of sun. We've got a rosemary here in the corner, some flowers. So pruning definitely helps. give everything the amount of space that it needs. Okay. All right, I see one tomato that is flying solo over here. Somehow it got way out of the line. So we're going to bring this into the trellis. And see how it's actually producing roots where it was touching the soil. These things can really vine along the ground if you let them. Okay. All right, now that we got that prune, I'm going to get my twine. So a lot of times when people plant tomatoes on an obelisk, they plant one in the center. But if you do that, you only get to grow one. So what I do instead is I plant 4 on the outside of the trellis, and then that way I can grow 4 inside the trellis. And they're all perfectly spaced. They're all more than a foot apart from one another. And I use each of these rungs of the trellis to support each one. So more tomato plants is always a win, right? All right, so I think we about have this cleaned up. These are really the pruning lessons for an intensively planted garden. You want to just once a week come in, take off anything that's got damage on it, that's got holes in it, and then you want to prune those lower leaves of your fruiting plants too, making sure that the plants are really able to focus on fruiting rather than producing leaves. Support everything, make sure everything's got a trellis or a stake to support it that needs it. And then the last step, of course, is to harvest. And I'm going to leave that for my neighbors to do. So they've got loads of Swiss chard and kale and parsley they can harvest from and enjoy while they wait on the tomatoes. So that's an update. This garden was created about probably 3 months ago. We had loads of spring harvests, and now the garden's doing great this summer. So stay tuned. I'll keep you posted on what comes next. This again is made with the Gardenary 4x4 cedar bed and our wide pillar obelisk trellis. Probably has about 50 or 60 plants inside. So hopefully inspires you to grow a lot more than you think is possible in your raised bed kitchen garden. Thanks for watching.